Well, good morning. Welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. I am in the middle of the desert, high desert, and I am embodying the energy of the tropics. So it's going to be very hot today. It's going to be hot and windy. It's going to feel horrible. So I have ocean animals on my shirt and the waves in my ears. I'm listening to Bob Marley. So anyway, that's the vibe. I hope you enjoy. Let's just do an energy check-in. I borrowed these from college for the RV. It's not an RV, it's an ambulance. I just nodded on myself. Okay, anyway. Morning. How are you going to get through today? Oh, Jesus. First thing up. Okay, so we got shadow energies coming up again. We got the shadow side, the moon, and the dark night. We've got lack and doubts, and we've got detachment and cold. Yikes. Okay, I've made entire playlists, several of them, about shadow work. There's daily decolonizing, there's shadow work, there's integrating shadow, there's the inner child healing, chasing nostalgia playlist. If you're on my channel, you gotta be doing shadow work, okay? Toxic patterns bound, air energy, self-care, closed off, guarded resistance, cycles, change, completion. So we've got the dark night. I'm gonna say it again. The dark night of the soul is not a one night thing, okay? The dark night is divine timing, not earth time, okay? And that one came out with cold detachment and lack and doubts. So the thing about lack mentality within a capitalist landscape, hellscape, is that it's very hard to get out of a lack mentality unless you are very wealthy. It is incredibly expensive to be very poor, okay? So when things come up, problems that have to be solved using money, it's very easy to get back into this lack mentality, right? And that can trigger, when we are in that lack mentality or that victimhood, it can trigger trauma responses from our past, okay? So the dark night of the soul, or the shadow side, integrating your shadow side is beneficial because as those things, part of life, especially in a capitalist society, is that things are always going to come up. And once we can really ground into that being like just an absolute, a constant, right? No matter how good, how much you have in your savings, no matter how little you have in your savings, things are always going to come up. Things are always going to come up. It is this society in which we live, okay? I think once we can accept that as a constant, accept it but don't embody it. Don't be like, oh, this is awesome, right? But accept that, shit happens, especially if you do have cars or assets or things like that. Things are gonna come up, especially right now. The government is flooding everybody. It's very obvious to me that they are removing levees or dropping levees or doing some sort of dam work right now with what's happening with the floods. So we've got flooding, we've got fires, we've got tornadoes in states that don't usually have tornadoes. The weather, okay, we've got the NASA or, some scientific board saying like, hey, the earth is going to start spinning faster so the days are going to get shorter, and like, hey, this just happened in the ocean and it's going to impact the melting of the ice caps, and people are talking about like The Day After Tomorrow, the movie with Dennis Quaid, which I absolutely love. Don't worry, I'm getting to my point. Ultimately though, what we need to remember and always keep very close to us, even when we are integrating our shadow, in a way to kind of alleviate our own responsibility for things outside of our control, right? Like the systems that be. We can do whatever we can to remove ourselves from them, to become more self-sustainable. But ultimately, we're always going to have to rely on this system in some point or another. And that can lead to that lack mentality, because it shouldn't be like that, right? The system was not designed to be sustainable. It was designed to do a whole lot of other things, right? So within that, recognize what's yours to carry and what's not. Recognize what is just the way it is, right? But don't put yourself in this victim space of lack or doubt because of systemic conditions. Okay? I guess that's all I was trying to say. Air energy. With the air energy, I would say just let shit fly over you, right? If you can. Do your best. Alright, so we've got toxic, bound, and patterns. Now with this, what I'm talking about with systemic everything, recognize that we are enslaved within a system that is not designed for our well-being or sustainability. It's designed for greed, control, obedience, resources, okay, labor. So once we recognize that we're a part of this system, it can start to serve our own liberation, right? What we do over here is collective liberation work. Once we realized that we're oppressed, once we realized, I mean, lots of people know that there are lots of systemic, conditions and divisions that have been drawn. It's very obvious that more people, like right now, Hispanic folks are being targeted by the state. Black folks have always been targeted by the state, right? So when we understand those things, we understand that we are within a system that is toxic. The system and the patterns are bound, right? So like those things, what I was just saying, everything's a constant. Those are the patterns that we're bound to by living within this system. That doesn't mean that when we get into a space of lack or feeling lack or victimhood or scarcity mindset, that's done on purpose, right? The price gouging that is happening, the fear mongering, the very real implications that many people are feeling, those are all things that the system is using to keep us trapped, controlled. So when we do our shadow work, when we recognize our own darkness, we recognize first and foremost, hey, I'm not as bad as the shit that I'm living in, right? I've made mistakes. I've done some shit I'm not proud of, but hey, I'm going to alleviate myself of this guilt and this shame because this is what was taught to me by the system I live in. This is the stuff that I was indoctrinated into. Once we start to recognize those patterns, that's when we can start to release these chains, right? That's when we can start to liberate ourselves. And when we do that for ourselves, we turn around and we help other people out. The opposite of the crabs in a barrel where people are pulling you down, we turn around and we help people up. We help people recognize that, right? So if you are going through a tough time right now within your own personal life, in addition to what you're experiencing within this system of oppression, when we finally get to a point of integrating our shadow side, again, like I said, I didn't finish this thought. First and foremost, we recognize that we're not as bad as the systems that be, right? There's actually pure evil out here doing pure evil things, keeping us in a state of oppression, division, necessity, right? Things like that. Once we realize that and we integrate our own shadow, right? Because we're like, okay, I feel guilty that I did this. We say, I'm not a bad person. These are the things that I learned or were done that I, carried out, whatever. When we know better, we do better, right? And then once we integrate our own darkness, once we recognize ourselves for the things that we may have done to others or the things that have been done to us, those become tools that we can call on to actually fight the evil entities, okay? So it's like you're adding to your tool belt when you integrate your shadow. You're adding to, you're starting to understand your own way of moving, the way that you want to be treated. You embody more empathy, right? You have the ability to hold more space for things going on because you kind of detached yourself from recognizing yourself as part of the problem, because you've embodied what it is that maybe you felt shame or guilt about, or not just those, sadness, grief. There's lots of shadow. We went through the entire shadow work deck. It was a short project, and I think it was just shadow work. So we've done that. I did daily decolonizing. There's a lot of playlists on my channel to help you go through this stuff. Because once we embody our darkness, then we can really start to see the light, right? And we can start to be the light, which is, again, helping others up once we get to a certain level. Right now, you just need to take care of yourself as you go through this process. Self-care, energy, being aware of energy is also something that comes when we integrate our shadow, being aware of the energy of everything, right? I was telling someone we were talking about the grocery store and how the energy is so intense and like dense. And I was like, well, think of it this way. When you think of every item at the grocery store and the processing it's had to go through, right? So, I mean, these are eye masks, but maybe they sell them at the grocery store. Either way. Think about all of the labor that went into this one box. Think about the machines. Think about the people that have been touching this stuff. Think about, this has like some plant or, it has plant or some sort of extract, okay? So this cardboard is made of trees, okay? Plastic is made from a base of oil. So there's plastic here. These are made out of probably silicone, maybe a mixture of something. And then there's some liquid on them. So was that liquid extracted from plants? Was it made in a lab? Things like that. If you start to think about, again, this is from like you pull yourself way back, don't go crazy, but just start to look at things a little differently. When we start to understand the production of things, how many hands have touched these things, how many logistics and how many times these things have been moved. So like, where did this tree come from that made this box? Where was this oil coming from? Because they're sitting in a plastic case and they have plastic within them, and this has like some metal and plastic. So when you start to think about resources differently, right? When we start to think about the world and the way that things are produced, then it makes sense why when you go into stores, the energy is so heavy. There's not windows, and then there's like tons of products that have been extracted from the earth, products using slave labor, right? Think about like the Mars candy bars and how they use child labor to like get the cocoa beans, right? Every fucking thing that we go to buy, right, when we're talking about being a part of this system, being indoctrinated into it, having to get ourselves out of it using money, right, things like that. That's why the energy in stores are so dense. It's because of the insane amount of energy in one product, right? How many people, was this on a boat? Was this on a train? Was this on trucks? How many trucks? How many factories? How many, what plants did it take to put these things together? Was the computer, what about the computer that produced like these labels and stuff? When you start to really think about things like that, I don't want anyone to go crazy, but just be aware, because consumerism, I did a video called Sustainable Consumerism a long time ago about like thrifting and giving things a second life because of the intensity of consumerism. Now I'm in a season of heavy consumerism right now because I'm trying to do the ambulance and working on some other stuff. I've got plastic all over my house. But when the week after I bought the ambulance, my views went way down. My energy felt very drained for multiple reasons. But one of those reasons was because of the consuming I was doing, buying supplies for the ambulance. So when we think about things, when we think about the cycles that we're participating in, right, and we don't have a choice. The system has made it so that we don't have a choice, right? But we can be more sustainable. We can make better choices. We can make more sustainable choices. We can think about things differently. We can choose to be a part of the change within that system, right? We throw a monkey wrench into the gears of the machine. Pink Floyd's The Machine is coming through. I've been saying grind your gears. I'm pretty sure that's from Family Guy. Is that from Family Guy? I don't really watch Family Guy, but I'm pretty sure that saying is from Family Guy. Closed off, guarded, and resistance. Maybe that's how you're feeling about just doing this work, feeling your own shadow work. Maybe what I'm saying isn't resonating at all, and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? When we think about energy, energy is everything, and I've made many videos talking about that. So like I just said, when we, I don't want you to go crazy thinking about every little thing, but it is important to think about things differently, because in this society, we've been conditioned to believe that everything is extractable, everything is expendable, everything is replaceable, and they don't make stuff to last anymore. They make it so that we remain in these cycles of toxicity. So that's just one example. Again, when you start to recognize what the system is actually doing and your participation in it, you're going to be able to alleviate yourself from a lot of guilt, while also holding yourself accountable for, maybe over consuming on some things. Maybe, if there's boycotts being called for, which there are on many levels for humanitarian purposes, right? Like boycotting Israel, boycotting ICE and the companies that are funding that stuff, right? So like that's one way that you can alleviate some of the it's one way to help integrate your own shadow, right? It's not all just about stroking your ego and alleviating guilt. It's about acknowledging your part in it and making conscious decisions moving forward, right? Again, thrifting is a great example. Giving things a second life, recycling, acknowledging when you're over consuming, like reflecting on it, like I just did, right? We have Pluto transformation, and we have messages and dreams. Today is a full moon. I'm recording this on July 10th. It's a full moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is represented by Capricorn represents the Devil card in the tarot. So whatever it is that is causing either, temptation or these lower shadow energies or feelings or whatever it is, vibes, I guess, be really conscious about transformation right now in this time. Be very aware of the ways in which messages are coming through to you, maybe in dreams. I just did a video the other day. It was a Magic Over Mayhem, talking about communicating with the universe. Again, I'm not encouraging psychosis. Spiritual psychosis is a very real thing when you come into consciousness. Been there, done that. If you need support, I really like talking to people in psychosis, so I can be there for you. I will listen to you. When we open ourselves up to the greater realms around us, we get a lot of information, and it can come in really quickly, and it can come in very confusing, and we try to make sense of it, and that's what psychosis is. It's a disorganized thought, because there's so much information, and your neurons are literally trying to make sense of everything. Again, I really like working with people in psychosis. If you need support, I will support you. But my advice is to take things slow. Just focus on what you can control. I made videos about that too. You can only control yourself. I'm not telling you to go and boycott the entire grocery store or never walk into a store again. Whatever you need to do, I'm not telling you to do that, I'm not telling you to join PETA or go picket something. I'm just saying being aware is going to help you also be aware of yourself. Being aware of what's around you. It's that saying, as above, so below, right? As within, so without. So understanding that we are in a cyclical relationship to the world around us, even if that world around us has produced through capital gain, we're still an active participant in that, mostly because of necessity, but also a lot of the times because of greed, right? Because of our own feelings of wanting to fit in or wanting what's cool or doing what other people are doing blindly, right? We have rejection, loss, and fragmented. And we have self-worth and expectations. So don't hold yourself to, or don't hold anyone to expectations that you're not holding yourself to. If you are feeling this rejection, loss, and fragmented, it's just another shadow aspect. Get to the root of why. Why do I feel like that? Was it a parent leaving you somewhere? Was it, someone's loss of life? Was it your own inability to do or carry out or finish a goal? Either way, whatever it was, you're still here, you're still alive, you're still breathing, you can do it. There's no time limit. Society will tell you there is. I'm almost 40 and I'm finally stepping into who I want to be. what I've always wanted to do. When I was 23, before any of my incarceration and anything, everyone was like, hey, I was about to graduate college and I had to pull out my last semester, like halfway through. I was like 2 months away from getting my degree, and I got locked up for an entire year. It left me feeling lost and rejected, right? But the one thing that people were saying, I didn't want to join the corporate world. I was a hippie, I was barefoot, I was a stoner, still am. I never let myself, throughout anything that happened, I didn't lose myself. And the one thing people kept saying is, what are you going to do after graduation? Or what do you want to do? I didn't even want to go to college. I'm glad I did. But I was like, I want to play and I want to smoke weed, right? Like, I don't, I wanted to go to an orphanage. I had a very intense white savior complex. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be around kids and I wanted to be able to smoke, like be high. And here I am living that out, right? But it took like 20 years. No, not that long. About 15 years to figure that out. I had to go through a lot. I had a lot of side quests. I went down the wrong path many times. And all of that was my own shadow work. And I used my time in incarceration to do shadow work. That's why I am the way I am. I spent my time doing my own inventory, figuring out why I was the way I was, why I had these certain behaviors and patterns and addictions and habits, and why I did the things I did. And a lot of the times, yeah, I was able to point the finger at someone else, but in that moment, you get to decide if you're gonna go all fucking vendetta on people, or if you're going to be like, okay, I recognize that's where that came from. They have their own shit. Not my circus, not my monkeys. I can only control myself. I don't even need to say anything to them. I know they've got their own shit. It's up to them to do their own work. Just leave me the fuck alone, right? Kind of energy. So again, that's expectations. Don't expect anyone to do this for you. It is your responsibility. I know we talked about a lot here. I wasn't really anticipating this going this way, but I'm happy it did. There's a lot to think about. We are all feeding this machine, and the more we integrate our own shadow, the more we heal ourselves, the more we understand why we are the way we are, why we feel the way we feel, why we do things to other people, the better the world is going to be, quite frankly. This is the act of healing in a system that is so incredibly evil. Don't think that your healing process isn't important, won't make a change, because it absolutely will. If you think of us all as links in a chain and you break out, then you're going to liberate other people. Again, you turn around and you help others. You become that lighthouse. You inspire other people to also turn around and look at themselves or look within. And you don't have to do it through lecture like me. I'm a yapper. You can just do it by modeling the behavior. When you change, people notice. People don't like it. We've done a ton of collective combos about that. People are not going to want you to do better than them. People are not going to want you to be healed, especially if there's codependent cycles or there's an imbalance, there's some sort of control or obedience against it. That's what the society teaches us, is that obedience and control equals good, right? Law and order, right? But organic, what nature teaches us is to be wild, is to feel, is to move with the wind, is to, close up if it's too sunny, or rest when you need to, right? Look to nature whenever you're feeling overwhelmed by, things at the store or your own consumerism or the things at your house. If you're feeling called, donate whatever you have that you're no longer using. If because I think we do have that habit of hoarding or getting things. Throughout this whole process, like I said, when I was over-consuming for the ambulance, I wasn't over-consuming, but I was definitely buying consistently more than I usually do. Which makes me kind of get into a lack mentality, or like a feeling unorganized because there's so much. So I had to go and work on my shed. and I had to move things around, and so just to continue to take inventory of not only what's going on with inside you or around you, but also the 3D material things you have in your house, in your space. And if you feel like you can get rid of stuff, donate it. Don't trash it, donate it. Take it through a thrift store. If they can't use it or they don't think anyone will want it, they can do the trash themselves. I mean, within reason. Come on, guys, you know what I mean. But I always donate everything first, and then, if it's real trash, then it goes in the trash. But I hope this helps. Just remember that we are all a part of a living, breathing planet, and the systems that we've built on top of the planet, they have built on top of the planet that we are all participating in are going against the planet and ourselves, right? When we recognize that we're all alive, we start to move different, okay? I know this was a little bit longer. Let's do these. I haven't used this deck yet. This is like a little spell. You don't have to be like a witch. Spells are just, everything is magic, okay? So I'm going to pull one of these to get us, oh yeah, it's a full moon. So again, with the full moon, you can do a little bit of a ceremony. I did do a full moon lessons and blessings the other day. I think the theme is like a tough cycle is ending, right? So that very much speaks to shadow work, and just recognizing that shadow work isn't just like a thing hanging out in the universe by itself. It is something that we all have because of everything I've already talked about, okay? Charm boxes. Spellwork during medieval times involved boxes for love, health, fertility, and the home, and in the fields it was used for prosperity and changes of luck. In more modern time, a young woman's hope chest might contain her wishes, intentions, and materials for a happy marriage. Wow, that's incredibly misogynistic. You can make your own charm boxes, or a vision board is kind of the vibe, also known as spell boxes, very easily. A job or career spell box could contain aventurine or peridot stones, patchouli incense, green candles, and ferns. You can make a psychic spell box with clove and rosemary and amethyst and quartz crystals. A good love spell box contains a pink candle, rose petals, and 2 pieces of rose quartz and 2 copper pennies. So whatever it is that you're seeking, again, everyone has their own free will, so this isn't to encourage you to fuck with other people's energy, but let's just shift this into like some sort of vision board. Whatever things you're going through, stay focused on your goal. What do you want? What do you desire? What do you see for yourself? How do you want to feel? And either make a vision board or a little box, and do that, okay? Start with what you have at your house. I'm not telling you to go buy things. Look around. Start with nature too. A lot of the stuff used within spell work is from nature, again, because nature, it's the machine versus nature, and we are parts of nature serving the machine. So that within itself is a paradox and a contradiction, and that breeds into more shadow. So that was a lot. Okay, let me do one more affirmation. I don't feel ready to let you go. I feel like that was a lot. If you're feeling intense about this, again, it's a full moon in Capricorn. Just talk to the moon tonight. I always do an altar. I didn't do it last moon because I was heavily distracted in someone else's energy. So I am going to be doing a pretty big moon altar this evening. Capricorn is an earth sign, again, ruled by the devil, so try to stay away from things that you know you need to stay away from. A dream is a wish your heart makes, and ordinary people can do extraordinary things and be your beautiful self. And do more than exist. Remember to play. Have a good one.